Johnny Rock Show, Rockin' 101, the Rock Station.
Straight up 8 o'clock. The Johnny Rock Show, Rockin' 101. On the phone, the man behind the Smashing Pumpkins free concert on, what was the date of that? That was 1998. Andy, what was the date? July 17th? June? No, it was July.
July 17, 1998.
Yes. Well, Andy Bloom, welcome to the Johnny Rock Show. I've known Andy.
Morning, Johnny.
Good morning. I've known you for, Chucker, what would it be? Some 30 some odd years. Yeah, some 30 some odd years in and out of the radio industry. But back in 98, you were running Rock 100.3, the Howard Stern station in the Twin Cities, right?
You bring back some tough memories, indeed.
Yes. Well, it was a tough memory the day that we found out. I was across the street at Power Radio, and we found out that your radio station, how long had that station been on at the time in 98? Like a year and a half?
Yeah, maybe a year, a little more, right?
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, your competition has the Smashing Pumpkins, who were huge at the time. Andy Bloom's got him for free at the Aquatennial, and we're like, what? Chucker, what did you say? I said, they come again? So, we had done the block party, but it was, Jeff Healy or, Dr. Mambo's Combo. This was a whole different level. And, you had 100.
Well, there was one big year, and I'll say that's what inspired it. Was the biggest year, if you remember, was with the Black Crowes. And I think that was something like 40,000 people, something like that.
Yep.
And the first thing that we had to do was go to the people running the Aquatennial and convince them that we could actually create something bigger than they had ever imagined. So that was my promise to them, was that we would do something bigger. And so that's what we set out to do, was create something bigger. And in the end, I think we fulfilled that.
Oh, I think you fulfilled it and then some. 120,000 people. They're still talking about it. I probably wouldn't have you on today if it wasn't for yesterday. I woke up at 4 a.m. and Fox 9 was doing a whole story on this.
Can we take Fox 9 to task? Because, usually there's the obligatory sponsored by a local radio station. Boy, they didn't even talk about even include a mention of a local radio station, right?
No, in fact, whoever, John Bream and the Star Tribune, back in 98, they barely mentioned the radio station. And you guys were really behind it,
Yeah, it was just, a lot of good things came together. We had tried for a lot of different acts that were touring at the time and trying to get different people to do it. And the lucky thing about it was that the manager of the group, a guy named Cliff Bernstein, who's just a great manager, has managed some of the biggest acts you can think of, Metallica, all the way to Madonna, just a wide range of acts, was looking to do a big free concert. They wanted to do it in the Pumpkins' hometown of Chicago, and Chicago wouldn't let them. And so once we'd convinced the Aquatennial that we could do something bigger than had been done by KQ and by you guys over there, was to convince the city that this was going to be all right. And Mayor at the time, it was Mayor Sharon Zales Belton, and we were able to have conversation with her and some people in the city and say, this will be okay. It's going to be a good event, and there won't be anything bad that happened. And of course, then we did a lot of praying, and at least that came true.
Yeah. There were a few incidents, I guess. Fox 9 said a woman broke out of prison to attend the concert. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then afterwards, they got her and put her back in prison. She needed a hall pass to go see the Smashing Pumpkins. But then who didn't, right?
Yeah, well, it was quite the evening for me being at the competition. My task was to basically try to own the show, which was next to impossible because you guys had signage that was, 2 stories high. And, you must have spent a ton of dough just on signs.
Yeah, the production cost for it was 6 figures. I couldn't give you the breakdown and remember what the signs cost. But if you remember the theater, and I can't remember the name of the theater, but it was on 7th Street, and they moved it. In fact, there's a whole History Channel episode dedicated to them moving this theater, which has been moved over to Hennepin Avenue now. And that building doesn't exist there. And of course, Block E doesn't exist, but we were able to create these banners that were something like, 50 or 75 feet tall. And it was pretty hard to miss which radio station had sponsored it. And that was one of the things that we were really proud of. It wasn't just a radio station that slapped its name on an event and then prayed that we got some credit for it. Although I don't know if we ever did get credit for it, but certainly at the time, if you were there, you were aware of who were sponsoring it.
Yeah, you got credit for it if you were one of the 120,000 people, except for the few moments where that punk Johnny Rock and his promotion director Peter Johns, this is so embarrassing. We went up on top of the roof of Glick's, which is right to the right, stage right of Block E. And at the time, they had this thing called a bat light that was basically the size of, like a movie projector, but it was very mobile. Right. You could move this thing right or left, and it projected your station's call letters 50, 60 feet high. And there we were. We splashed it up on the Target Center sides. And
for about a second you did, because one of the fun things, and radio awards really don't exist this way anymore. But one of the things that at the time was we had a pretty good idea of what was going inside your building, and I'm pretty sure you had a good idea of what was going on inside our building. So we were aware of some of the things that you were going to do, and likewise, we hired a spotlight, just the kind that you see flashing up in the sky for a store opening or a movie premiere. And every time you guys flashed that logo up on the Target Center or up in the air, we had a spotlight operator who was turning our spotlight on yours and washing it out. So, it might have been there for a second or two, but one of the things that we were able to do was know that was coming and at least wash it out. So it was pretty ineffective at best.
Yeah, at best. I mean, what are you going to do? You're spending 6 figures plus, and here I am with a flashlight. It wasn't the first time. As a real punk 19-year-old in New York City, we had the Who and the Clash at Shea Stadium, and I hired an airplane to pull a banner that said, our competition was, of course, WPLJ. And the banner said, WPLJ hates the Who. So that was sort of crazy that we just threw that out there. But, it's a great memory. And they're back in town.
My best memory, I'll just say one quick memory, was, if you remember, we were up on top of the city center, and the stage was in front of the Target Center on First Avenue. And getting back and forth was the hardest thing to do. And, I'm about 4'3" tall. So when I would have to go back and forth, my feet were literally off the ground, and the crowd would I just go with the crowd one way to the other. So I was trying to get from backstage to the top of the city center, or the city center to backstage. That's one of my memories of that event.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, you really don't know what 120,000 people feel like until you're in it. And I think it's kudos to you and the whole crew back then that no one did get hurt. Because, my God, Can you imagine? Nowadays, I don't know if they ever allow that nowadays. It was a loosey-goosey time,
Well, it was a fortunate event that we were able to pull off. And, of course, it can never happen again because Block E doesn't exist, and there is nowhere downtown where you could do a concert with the Smashing Pumpkins that required a 90-foot stage. That was a 90-foot stage that they played on.
Wow. Well, they're in St. Paul tonight with Jane's Addiction. The show is selling well. It's getting good reviews, and maybe I'll see you there tonight. I'll bring the bat light. Wouldn't that be funny?
And I'll bring my flashlight, and we'll signal each other from across the arena and see if anybody notices. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to being there. It's going to be a great show tonight.
Well, Andy, thank you for coming on the Johnny Rock Show. And
all right, Johnny, tell Tucker I said hi.
I will. Don't be a stranger, and let's do this again soon. All right.
All right.
You got
Be well. Thanks. Have a good one.
Johnny Rock Show, Rockin' 101, the Rock.